Welcome to Overtime with Taylor Tanner, and we have a lot to talk about. We got some segments on this show. That's right, we added segments to the NFL show. We got a film review. We will be looking at Jaden Reed, Sauce Gardner, Derek Carr's film. I'll give you a breakdown of what my eyes saw from these three players. We will be reviewing the Primetime games. That's right, Thursday Night Football, Friday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and Monday Night Football. That's 4 primetime games. Usually 3, but we had 4 with that Friday game in Brazil. Man, oh man, was that one a doozy to watch. And also, we have a future forecast. Every week, we're going to be taking 3 teams and looking at their next 3 games, doing a little future forecast. Those 3 teams will be the Colts, Saints, and Bucks. So stay tuned to the end to see what I think about their next 3 games, what their future is going to look like, all right? First off, Mahomes is really, really good. Baltimore and Kansas City, 27-20. Kansas City won that one. Mahomes is good. Ravens, they're good too. You know, Lamar can still run that ball. Isaiah Likely, man, that dude is a dog. He had 9 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown, and he was toenails away from the game-tying touchdown. Likely, he was a Group of 5 player. Hey, we love Group of 5 players here, but Likely he was really, really good. Toenails away from the game-tying touchdown. The refs called him out of bounds, and he was. His toe was on the line. You got to get 2 feet inbounds in the NFL. Now, let's talk about the Ravens running back, Derrick Henry. They got a new running back, and that is Derrick Henry. And in my opinion, I think he's going to struggle this season. At Tennessee, Henry was the workhorse back. He was the guy who'd get 20 to 30, maybe even 40 carries a game. Here in Baltimore, he's just going to get a few carries a game. Not a few, but he'll get like anywhere between 10 and 20 a game because the Ravens can actually throw the ball. Lamar can actually throw. Tennessee really didn't have that option when Henry was there. When Henry was with the Titans, it was really just a ground and pound team. That's all it's been, and that's going to change Henry in Baltimore. We'll see what he can do with the Ravens, but he didn't have a very great game, had about 50 yards on the ground, but that's about it there. Now, another guy I want to mention from the Chiefs before we wrap up this game talk, Worthy, man. Xavier Worthy. This guy can take the top off of a defense like that. Is insane. He's extremely fast. He ran the fastest 40. And man, who let the Chiefs get this player? Who let them get this player? They got Rashee Rice last year. Now they got Xavier Worthy. That dude is electric, all right? That was Thursday Night Football. Now let's talk about the game in Brazil. Philadelphia and Green Bay going against each other. Philly wins 34-29. And man, oh man, Jordan Love goes down with an injury. You hate to see it. You hate to see Love go down with that injury, man. Late in the game, you know, he wanted to make a play, but he got hurt. Luckily, it's only a few week injury. It's not going to be that long. He'll be back in about 3 to 4 weeks. Malik Willis is the Packers quarterback, so we'll see what Willis can do. But the story of this game shouldn't be Love's injury. It should be how good A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley are. Those 2 guys are explosive. Barkley is back to his peak. Barkley is peak Barkley again. He's never been there before, and now he's finally at the peak he once was. Barkley had over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns, and he also had a receiving touchdown. Barkley as a receiving threat, oh my goodness, Barkley has all the talent in the world. Barkley's about to change this game. Philly's about to be a dangerous team. Jalen Hurts didn't play the greatest game. He threw a pick. He had some pretty bad throws. He wasn't the best thrower of a football, but hey, if you got Saquon Barkley in that backfield and he's healthy and your offense is built for Saquon, then it's going to be a good game. And A.J. Brown just dominated Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in football. I think he's about top 15, top 10, but after that game, man, he might fall off. Jair might be washed, dare I say it. But on the Packers side of things, I need to see more from Josh Jacobs. I know he's got it in him. The first half, he was just stuffed. To be fair, that Eagles rush defense is really, really good. Jordan Davis in there, he's always stuffing the run. But man, I need to see more from Jacobs. Jacobs had a great second half. His second half was really, really explosive. But we need to see Jacobs get more of those explosive runs. We saw it. We saw his vision. His vision's awesome. He can hit the hole. He can move between the blockers. He has great, great vision. And one more player, we're going to talk about him later in the show. We're going to dive deeper into it. Jaden Reed, wide receiver for the Packers, was from Michigan State, played at the Senior Bowl. Stock rose at the Senior Bowl. He was one of the fastest players a few years ago. But man, this guy has the speed, and we'll talk about him later in the film breakdown segment, all right? Let's move on to Detroit and the Rams. Sunday night football. After a long day of watching Sunday football in the afternoon, it all came down to Sunday night football between Detroit and the Rams. Matthew Stafford back in Detroit. And what a game this was. It was really, really entertaining. Detroit has a good running back tandem in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Those two guys are going to be dangerous for the future, and they're going to be really good. David Montgomery, he's had his stints where he was really, really good. He showed his potential of being really, really good. But man, I didn't think it was this good. He really ran through this Rams defense, and the Rams D-line was really, really good. I mean, without Aaron Donald, this Rams D-line was still good. I mean, you had Aaron Donald, who was the best defensive player of all time, arguably. He was the guy on the defense, but nope. No Aaron Donald, but this defense still stood 10 toes down. They were awesome to watch. Now on LA side, offensively, Cooper Kupp with 14 receptions. Kupp might be back. It might be time, fantasy owners, to put Cooper Kupp back on your team. Trade for Cooper Kupp, because 14 receptions in game one. Puka got hurt. Puka Nacua is hurt, who also was a guy who just went crazy in fantasy last year. He went crazy rookie-wise, had the most rookie receiving yards in a year by a rookie. Just insanity. And let's see, what else do I have here? Rams D-line still really good. I mentioned that. Jamison Williams, man. Wide receiver from Alabama. This guy is fast. He had 121 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Jamison Williams is that guy. Jamison Williams, he might be a breakout star in the receiving role because this guy is fast. He can catch the ball. He can high point the ball. What more do you need from a wide receiver? And man, let's move on to the final primetime game. San Francisco 39, New York Jets 19. I love Aaron Rodgers. He is my GOAT. He is my greatest of all time. He is my king. But Aaron Rodgers just didn't have a good game. He threw the ball well, but inconsistent drops on the offense. The defense couldn't get off the field. San Francisco just ran that clock down, just ran it down. San Francisco just dominated time of possession of this game. They held the ball for a long, long time. But let's talk about the San Francisco defense. Fred Warner is the best player in the game of football and middle linebacker. Fred Warner is a future Hall of Famer. Fred Warner is that guy. Fred Warner came in on Breece Hall, and punched the ball out just seamlessly. Just punched it out like it was nothing. And that was a huge play, turned momentum in the game, and San Francisco just ran away with it since. The Jets need to find a run game. Breece Hall wasn't very consistent running the ball. And, when you have a good run game, it's going to open up the pass, especially when you have Aaron Rodgers, who's the best quarterback in NFL history. O-line was good. O-line protected Rodgers. That was the question. It's like, can this O-line protect Aaron Rodgers? And it did. And Deebo Samuel, man, on the 49ers. This guy played running back a lot because Christian McCaffrey was out. This guy just can read the blocks. He's fast. He knows how to get from east to west like that. He can do everything. But, man, it was a fun game if you're a 49ers fan. If you were a Jets fan, it was not a fun game. And me as an Aaron Rodgers fan, it was not a fun game. Now let's move on to another segment. This segment is called Film Review. We got 3 players here, and I'm going to tell you what I saw out of this player during game time, what I saw from them, and yeah, that's pretty much it. First player we have is Jaden Reed, man. This guy's a motion machine. If you're a head coach in the NFL, you love a player like this that you can motion from left to right. The defense is always on their toes when you see this guy just motioning around because you're like, I don't know if it's going to be a run. Is it going to be a jet sweep? Is it going to be a jet touch pass? Is it going to be a wide receiver screen? Is he going to run and then just run straight and burn us over the top? Like, you never know. It's always a guessing game with a guy like Jaden Reed. He has great vision. There was a play, the jet sweep. Jordan Love handed it off to Jaden Reed, and Jaden Reed didn't run to the side. He didn't run east to west. He ran exactly. It's like he knew where the blockers were going to be, which is crazy to say. But some players, when they touch the football and they run with the ball, they'll run crazy. They don't follow their blockers. But Reed followed the blockers. The blockers opened up the hole. It wasn't huge, but it was big enough for Jaden Reed to slide into. And all he had to do was break one tackle, and he broke that easily because that's what Jaden Reed does. And he scored a touchdown. He has great ball carrier vision. I can't stress that enough. And that's what we love to see. he has great ball skills too. He ran like a corner to the sideline. Jordan Love threw up a ball to him, and man, Jayden Reed caught that ball and took a big hit afterwards, and the ball didn't pop loose. He held onto that ball. He has strong hands. He can high point the ball. And, you love to have a receiver like that. And it was in clutch time, too. Sadly, the play after that, Jordan Love got injured. But still, that's a good play for Jayden Reed. Now, that's it for Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed, elite player. He's going to be a Packers legend in the near future. Next player, let's go to the Jets. Let's talk about the cornerback who a lot of people say is the best cornerback in the league, Sauce Gardner. He was only targeted twice and allowed no yards. So that's pretty elite if you ask me, and he was guarding Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. He was also manning up against George Kittle some plays. You don't really like that matchup most of the times, but Sauce Gardner is a physical cornerback, and he really went toe-to-toe with George Kittle, being physical, beating George Kittle, just getting in that hands fight that you got to get in if you're playing a tight end. Something about Sauce Gardner that I really like too is corners. When you think cornerback, what do you think of? Interceptions, pass breakups, man coverage, zone coverage, all these different things. You don't think of good tacklers. Now, Sauce Gardner proved that he's a great tackler, even elite tackler when it comes to cornerback standards. He made a great tackle on Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel ran an end around. I'm sure everyone's seen this play because Deebo almost broke it loose, but Deebo ran to the right. He cut back, ran to the left. He had one guy to beat. That guy to beat was Sauce Gardner. And Sauce Gardner dove down, made the tackle for a loss. If Deebo would have broken that tackle, if Deebo would have gotten past Sauce Gardner, that would have been an easy touchdown for San Fran. Overall, though, Sauce was really good. Not a big sample size. It's only week 1, especially for all these players we're going to do a film review for. It's not a huge sample size, but it's big enough we can see who the good players are, who the bad players are. And man, Sauce Gardner was a really good player. Next up, let's talk about a quarterback, huh? A team that I predicted wasn't going to be very good, but they just proved their offense is elite. That is the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr. Derek Carr threw a deep pass, 20-plus air yards on 11% of his attempts last season. He didn't throw that many deep passes, 11%, but guess what? This Saints game, he went guns a-blazing. He threw a deep ball to Rashid Shaheed, and man, oh man, that deep ball was impressive. It was under pressure too. The O-line was collapsing on him. D-line was coming in. And what did Derek Carr do? Derek Carr just threw a beautiful ball. A beautiful ball right to Rashid Shaheed, who's going to have a breakout year with the Saints if Derek Carr can keep doing things like this. Derek Carr, he was really quick to check down last year. He was captain check down, as I like to call these quarterbacks, who just kind of check it down to the running back. But hey, when you can do that, and you have Alvin Kamara in your backfield, Alvin Kamara is the guy you're checking it down to, you're in good hands, buddy. You're in really good hands when you're checking down to Kamara, who's elusive as they come. And Kamara looked like to be in his peak physical form too. Last year, Kamara didn't have the greatest year. He was still all right, but didn't have the greatest year. But now this year, Kamara might be the guy again. Kamara might be a top 5 running back again, dare I say it. Let's talk about some of these other big-time plays that Derek Carr made. His second touchdown was across his body. He rolled out of the pocket. We saw some elusive Derek Carr today, some mobile Derek Carr today, something you don't really see much. But he rolled out of the pocket, play broke down. He saw Foster Moreau. He pointed to the end zone. He threw it to Moreau, and Moreau was there. Moreau caught the ball, but man, Derek Carr really had to put some zing on that ball. Derek Carr really had to zip it in there, and he did. Foster Moreau made a catch. To be fair, this ball was very interceptable, but they were playing the Panthers, so it didn't get picked off. But, I don't think you can make this throw against a 49ers D, against an Eagles D, against a Chiefs D. You're not going to be able to make that throw against those guys. But since you're playing the Panthers, you'll be able to get a throw like that in. But Derek Carr, he did put some zip on that ball, and that was a great catch by Moreau. He held on to the ball, too. Derek Carr looked really good. Now, his last touchdown, Carr, again, on the run, delivered a dot to the tight end, Juwan Johnson. He ran out, threw it on the run. He looked good. He looked solid. Derek Carr looked great on the run, threw the ball. Juwan Johnson was pretty much just wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. There's not much you can do wrong against the Carolina Panthers defense. But Derek Carr could be back. Dare I say it, Carr for MVP. Now, it's time for the future forecast. Let's start off with the Saints. We just talked about Derek Carr, but they just dominated the Panthers. Their next 3 games they have at Dallas versus the Eagles and at the Falcons. That's a tough stretch of games. At Dallas next game, home against the Eagles, and then at the Falcons. If their offense can do what they did against the Panthers, against Dallas and Philly, it's going to be a scary season if you're playing the Saints. If the Saints offense can put up 40 points against Dallas's D, against the Eagles D, it's going to be insane. It's going to be a real big test these next 2 weeks. I expect the Saints, honestly, if they can do what they did against Carolina, I mean, it is week 1. We could be overreacting to some of these wins. I could be saying, oh, Saints are going to the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. No, they're not. They're not going to the Super Bowl, but they may go to the playoffs. The NFC South, Bucs and Saints are the 2 at the top. Falcons, overhyped maybe by the media, by me, overhyped by a lot of people. But man, if Carr can keep looking good, if Carr can stay comfortable in the pocket and throw good balls, if Kamara can keep doing what Kamara can do, I expect this team to go 2-1 in their next 3 games. A win against the Eagles and at the Falcons. I think Dallas has their number, though. Now moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, man. This offense was explosive. Alec Pierce is awesome. Anthony Richardson is awesome. But you know what isn't awesome about this team? The defense. Defense wins championships, guys. Defense wins championships, Gus Bradley. But man, this Colts team let up a bunch of yards on the ground. And their next 3 games are at Green Bay versus Chicago versus Pittsburgh. This is a doable schedule. Green Bay without Jordan Love, Chicago with a rookie quarterback, and Pittsburgh with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Who cares because they're both trash? If you're this Colts team, this is what you have to do. You've got to figure out how to stop the run. These next 3 games, you're playing running backs. Not the best running backs. Green Bay is probably the best with Josh Jacobs. You're playing Josh Jacobs, all right? You got to stop Josh Jacobs. Will they? I don't think so. I think Jacobs is going to have a day, but that's just my opinion. But if you're the Colts, you have to do that. But against Chicago and Pittsburgh, I think if this Colts defense can get under wraps, they're bound to win those 2 games. I think they go 2-1 in the next 3 weeks with a loss at Green Bay, of course. Now, last future forecast is the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, man. Baker Mania. His deep ball was impressive. He may be the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. Their next 3 games are at Detroit versus Denver versus Philadelphia. A really tough next 3. But the Bucs have a great offense. Their defense is pretty good too. If Baker can do Baker things, Baker for MVP, hey, maybe. Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield in the MVP race, week 1. What world are we living in? What world are we living in? I don't even think Lamar and Patrick Mahomes are up there after week 1. In my opinion, it's definitely going to be after week 1, MVP hopefuls are Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr because they both had elite performances. But man, I think the Buccaneers go really well on this next 3-game stretch. I think they can beat Detroit. I think they can beat Denver. I think they can beat Philly. But are they? That's the question. Anyone can think people are going to win this game, but are they actually going to win? You got to go out there. You got to execute your game plan. That's the name and the game of football. That's why sports bettors make all this money, because people don't execute. But hey, what do I know? Well, that's all I have today on the NFL show. Guys, I hope you enjoy. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at OTWithTT. Follow me on Instagram at OTWithTT and my personal Instagram at _TaylorNader_. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Enjoy some football. You've been listening to Overtime with Taylor Tanner.